Thank you for joining us for what promises to be an insightful panel discussion on a topic that is both timely and transformative. I'm exploring new career paths in modern banking. My name is 𝗕𝗫𝗍 from City University of Hong Kong, and I'm currently in my second year of the BBA in Global Business program. The banking sector is rapidly transforming, driven by digital innovations and sustainable finance. Today, we'll explore how these changes create new opportunities across retail, commercial, and virtual banking. So I will be the moderator for this panel. It's my great honor. And now let me introduce our esteemed panelists for today's session. We are honored to have Ms. Vivian Au, the Head of Human Resource and Administration at DZ Bank Hong Kong branch. Mr. Gilbert Lee, Head of Strategy and Planning and Chief of Staff to CE at Hang Seng Bank Limited. Mr. Ernest Le, President and Group COO at 𝗕𝗶𝗵𝗴𝗵. And Mr. Brian Wong, General Manager and Head of Treasury Markets Division at the Bank of East Asia Limited. Thank you all for being here and sharing your valuable insights with us. So let's talk about our agenda today. Our panel today will be structured into 4 sections. First of all, we'll explore the current trends in banking industry as it's constantly evolving. And then we will dive into career advices, focusing on skills and strategies needed to cope with this dynamic industry. And then we will open the floor up for questions if you may have any. Lastly, we'll wrap things up and have our networking session where you could directly connect with our with our speakers. So let's start our panel, shall we? My first question is for Ms. Vivian Au. As fintech is disrupting banking landscape, could you please share a bit about how does it change workforce needs as your perspective from a human resource expertise, and what kind of skills are now line managers prioritizing? Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Vivian. Okay, so the question for me is how fintech is disrupting the banking sector. Well, I would say instead of disrupting, I think it is a very strong driving force for our traditional banking to make the changes, well, in order to meet the needs of our customers, of course, and especially the younger generation who value so much on the online experience, the speed and convenience. So I guess that's why we need to make some changes. From the hiring need perspective, in fact, the bank, because of this, fintech driving force, I think in 2018 we started the we call the digitalization readiness program, of course from a group level. Okay, so we're driving, all the process automated. So this is the effort, of course, to make sure, okay, that our customer has this expectation. So we are trying to, the whole office, the whole group is driving towards this digitalization, the force. So you can imagine, during these few years, of course, we have some achievements already. So, for example, e-workplace. For example, we have many processes automated. And one example is, I think when the ChatGPT, right, was launched a couple of years ago, our head of IT, they blocked the access immediately. Okay, but I mean, with these years, DZ Bank has its own DZ Chat. Okay, to this year, and now it can help us. It's available for all of the staff members to, use the tool to chat with them and then draft your emails, doing executive summaries of, long the essays, and then helping you to maybe work on Excels and PowerPoint. So I think these forces has forced us to move quicker in order to meet, the expectation of the new generations and of course, in the community. In terms of the hiring needs, I would have to say many of the processes are taken over by maybe AI, okay? But I also agree with what our group head of IT, that, you know, human force is, we still need well-trained human force to you know, earn money for us, okay? We also need good, well-trained people to lead and drive all the processes, okay? So that's why we're still hiring people, hiring human workforce to work for the bank. But the focus has been changed because so many processes was automated. For example, recently we hired a AVP in the payments department, okay, payments. And then in the past, we were just focused in, well, the years of experience, the qualifications, okay? But now we have to redesign the job requirements in the sense of, you know, whether they are comfortable or they able to, for example, to drive the digitalization process, to analyze the requirements for the systems and so on. So rather than, I mean, of course your experience is important, but we focus more on that perspective now, okay? And then I think the last question you mentioned is
what kind of skills?
Yeah, the skill set. Okay. Of course, there are evolving skill sets technically. Okay, the new systems, the new softwares, and even the generative AI. So evolving from time to time. But I believe that those soft skills, which are so durable and transferable, applicable across different jobs, for example, like good communications, for example, critical thinking, collaboration, are all the skill sets that every hiring managers are still looking for. So I guess the essence is, well, continuous learning, because there are so many evolving technical skill sets. If you want to do more and then be part of the team, not being fired, of course you need to continuously learn. I mean, so the bank is very supportive in this respect, so from both a financial perspective and also as a policy. So yes, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ao. And my next question would be for Mr. Gilbert Lee. So what changes does digitalization brought to the banking sector, and what are the new opportunities arise for individuals who are looking for like a new career path? So perhaps you could share a bit about your own career path of how it evolved.
Thank you. Yes, of course. Thank you, Michelle. Usually in forum like this, we would ask audience not to look at your phones, not your mobile phones. And I see some of you are already using your mobile phones to take notes already, right? But today, I would actually love you to take out your phone. Follow me, take out your phone. Open your Instagram account and look at a very popular channel, 𝗕𝗁𝗄𝗃𝗃。You take 15 seconds to look at one of the refrigerator joke, number 502. Refrigerator joke number 502. Okay. I'll give you 10 seconds. I think you need 10 seconds. So that is an example of how we as a bank, Hang Seng Bank, use social media to introduce a product, introduce a service that we offer to our personal customers. This is a promotion, an introduction of an investment services through our mobile banking apps, where you only use $1 Hong Kong dollar to do investment in investment funds or in insurance. And we use 𝗘𝗁𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 to promote it. And this is what you and I read every day through Instagram. So imagine if you are working in Hang Seng Bank, what roles are you playing? There are a few roles. First of all, we need to know how to promote financial inclusion. Right? We want to let more and more people to do investment, to do financial planning at an earlier stage. So we need people who can understand financial inclusion, understand what customer needs. So that's a role in our bank. Then you need to know how to leverage our mobile banking apps to make this happen. Because in the past, you can't. I mean, you need $100,000 to make investment. Now you can use only $1 to do that. So you need to think about how to adopt digital technology to make things happen. So that's another role in Hang Seng Bank. And of course, we need another role in Hang Seng Bank to work with 𝗘𝗍𝗃, right? You need to think about how to introduce this concept in a easily understand manner, in a leisure manner. You look at 𝗘𝗍𝗃, which is your favorite channel, and you know Hang Seng Bank, and you know these wonderful services. So that's another role. So Michelle, to address your question, now there are different roles that you can combine your daily life on your mobile apps with financial services, with helping community to grow, to do financial planning, to plan investment. So that's one example. I want you to stick with your phone for another minute. If you like 𝗘𝗍𝗃, I would introduce you to another channel, which is called 𝗘𝗍𝗃𝗏. 𝗘𝗍𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 And I'm sure you will love this channel because it has a lot, and it's targeted to audience like yourselves and myself too. It's university students, pre-university students, recent graduates. These are the group of target audience of us, of 𝗕𝗅𝗍𝗁. And it has street interviews of very casual topics. It has fun games involving university students, teenagers. And it subtly talk about financial planning, career planning, foreign exchange, how to save money, etc., etc. And to your surprise, this is launched by Hang Seng Bank, and this is still managed by Hang Seng Bank. I actually launched this in 2018. We built from scratch, hired a bunch of very creative, energetic people into Hang Seng Bank. We built this together. Now we have over 100,000 followers. So this is another example of how a bank create different types of jobs and careers for people with different skills. You need people who can create contents, who can think about how to interact with customers in new channel, social media. This was an experiment for Hang Seng Bank to use social media. Now we know how to use social media, so you can see Hang Seng everywhere on the internet, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on of course LinkedIn, etc., etc. So there are a bunch of roles like these in a bank, and of course there are traditional roles too, where we need to, of course, in the branch, face customers, help them do financial planning, give them financial advice, do lending, do mortgage. Of course, those are all the other roles that we already have and will always have. But there are other roles too. So that's now how banking evolve in a digital environment and how it opens up much more opportunities to talents like yourselves.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Now let's explore how this shift has impacted different types of banks. So I'd like to ask Mr. Ernest Leung, since you're an expert in virtual banking, what are the key differences between traditional banking and virtual banking in terms of like the scope of work and culture, etc.? Yeah.
Great, fantastic question. I'm not quite sure if I'm the expert, but the first difference I would mention between traditional banking and not virtual bank, the HKMA just renamed it to digital bank, is dress code. Jeans and runners, digital bank. Suits, traditional banks. No, but jokes aside, I think just maybe a quick introduction of 𝗕𝗏𝗵, because I think present company banks have been very deep-rooted and long history in Hong Kong. But 𝗲𝗍𝗵 is a fintech firm. We started before the term fintech even came into being. We're an 11 years old company. We are a fully digitized online lender. We also own and operate 2 banks, one in Hong Kong, 𝗲𝗍𝗵 Bank, and in partnership with a large conglomerate in Indonesia, we have a second bank. We also do a lot of technology outsourcing in China as well. Differences between the two, I guess when you get to the products and services, there will be fundamentals almost like laws of physics, where products between banks would be similar. The delivery channels may be different. For example, we talk a lot about digital transformation. 𝗲𝗍𝗵 is a digital native. The company was founded without any legacy system. So we started out being a tech firm. So how does it work differently? The biggest one for us is mindset, right? When you join a fintech firm or a digital banking, we think about not so much about disruption, but how our processes can be reinvented to facilitate banking and benefiting the end consumer. We have a blank sheet of paper. And every day, despite being an 11-year-old company, we do spend a lot of time thinking how we can do things differently. The second one is there is no fallback. Our entire bank, thanks for that highlight, our entire bank operates on the phone. There is no call center, there's no branch, so in case something doesn't work, we do not have an alternative. Guess what happens with how we work if there's no alternative? You make it darn sure that your product works, you test it over and over again, you make sure the cybersecurity is there. And so we have a lot of young people in the bank just testing, thinking, trying new things. So that's the second point. Quick decisions. To be an entrepreneur, to be able to compete with very well-established banks, we have to be a little bit faster. We have to be a little edgier. We have to try new things. And that's, it's good because I'm sure some of you are thinking, hey, I want to start my own company. Fantastic, best of luck, do well if you do. But there's a bit of risk, right? But if you work for a fintech firm that at least have come through the initial risk, you get to be in an environment where you can try new things with a little less risk than if you were starting your own company. There's also less division of labor within a digital bank and a fintech firm, which means you get to strata multiple functions at the same time. Obviously, not those would give you a conflict of interest. But if today you want to be in product, tomorrow you want to be in marketing, you want to be in distribution, you want to do research, that's possible. Because of the very lean setup within the bank, you get to try new things. So it's a fantastic way to expose to a much broader range within the bank. Last but not least, I think Lawrence spoke about it earlier. We highly encourage you to nurse your curiosity. If you see something new that exists elsewhere, not in Hong Kong, bring it in. If you have an inspirational moment while you're taking a shower, bring that to the office. And I think that's the major difference in terms of how we run. And I've been in traditional banking for 26 years before jumping across to a fintech. So it does give you a very different platform to grow and develop. Not to say traditional ones are not good. I did spend 26 years there, but it allows you to put in a lot of your ideas and thoughts into realization. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Le.
Ernest, just for the record, we also wear jeans at the office. It's only showing respect to Lawrence and all that I wear like this.
My apologies for the disrespect, but I left my cufflinks at home, so.
Exactly.
Otherwise, what are we unless they are meeting customers.
Thank you. And as these specialized areas are evolving, traditional roles also face challenges and opportunities. So, Mr. Brian Wong, I would like to ask what challenges and opportunities come with moving from traditional banking roles to specialized positions in modern banking?
Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon, everyone. I think the challenges mainly come from three areas. First is about the skills gap. like traditional bankers and frontline people, previously maybe when customer come with us with money, we sell them deposit product. But nowadays we have like investment equities for different kind of products. Some could be like insurance link, some could be like structured deposit, right? So it will require different skill set. Even our supporting functions like IT people, nowadays we need fintech people, we need data scientists, we also need the cybersecurity expertise. Like, so it's different kind of like skill set, like our staff, we need to like transit from the previous like knowledge into now the specialized requirement. So I think this is the first challenge, both for the staff as well as for the bank, because we need to hire those people with those special skills. Second thing is, I think, about the cultural shift. Like traditional banks tend to like focus or value on stability, structure, proper process. But modern bank nowadays like maybe more focus on being agile, tech focus, data driven. So people used to like a hierarchical structure will need to adopt it. Yeah. I think the next I would like to mention is about the regulatory complexity. Okay. I work in the treasury function for like 25 years. Okay. One of my role is to help the bank to deploy the surplus funding by buying bonds. Okay. 25 years ago, before I buy a bond, it's simple. I just check the credit limit, I check the market risk limit, then I can go ahead. But nowadays, like apart from the credit limit, market risk limit, we need to understand what's the impact to the bank liquidity, what's the impact to the bank like interest, NII sensitivity, and what the impact to the bank's capital. So you can imagine like a same decision to be made. Previously, I only need to consider 2 factors. Now I need to like consider like 5 or more than that. So decisions have to become more difficult because we need to consider all this impact on different regulatory perspectives. So this is, I would say, the third challenge, like when we transition into modern banking. So, but what would be opportunities that offer? I think good news is that like bank no longer just offer jobs for those who major in business, finance, or banking. Because we need talents from, like as I mentioned before, data scientists. We need someone a specialist in cybersecurity. We also need people like have knowledge about ESG, right? All the banks now focus on like taking on more social responsibility. So we're definitely offering jobs to like people with different background. And for those of you who already like maybe major in AI, or as I mentioned, data science, congratulations. Okay, these are probably the hottest like job like banks were looking for talents to fill in. But I think like remember what Lauren said. What currently we have the jobs, none of us know like whether they will still exist in 10 years time. So I believe all of you here, you don't need to worry about finding a job, but you do need to think about how to build your career. Okay, so to add on what others said, okay, no matter how busy you are, how colorful, how much activities you have for your personal life, always mark some time in your calendar, always save some energy, save some money for you to continue study throughout your career.
Thank you. So now let's shift our focus to what these changes means for individuals' career growth, focusing on the skills and strategies essential for success. As we all know, there's a growing emphasis on sustainable finance. So my first question will for Ms. 𝗷. And could you share how ESG integration in shaping banking practices and share some like skills needed for professional in this area? Thank you.
Okay. So 𝗘Bank is a German bank, okay? In Germany, there are laws and strict regulations governing the ESG of big corporations. So that means for us as a German bank, we need to submit a sustainability report every year. So I mean, I'm not sure how many pages, okay? So this is also one of the driving reasons that for the group, sustainability is embedded in its core strategy. Also, you know, the goals to achieve these results. Otherwise, we'll be caught by the regulators, okay? So this is the driving force as well, so that we are forced to, and I think it is also a hot topic, right? ESG, about environmental factors, is a hot topic. So every company, every individual is trying to help, right? Help the world, the earth, to become a greener environment. So, of course, ESG, there are three big components, right? From a environmental perspective, that we talk about, you know, energy, maybe use of land, water, okay, the resources. So, so for me as an HR manager, so I also take care of the office environment, okay? So we're trying to make us as green as possible. So some typical example is we changed our company car into an vehicle last year, okay? So that's first thing. And then in our recent, I think in the renovation in 2019, we adopted the new design. We were very traditional before, so you can imagine that was an old wooden kind of design, very traditional. But we changed the design into a open concept workplace. So all the rooms are partitioned by the transparent glass panel. So in the effect is every employee can enjoy the sunlight, okay, and have the city view, and then from anywhere in the corner, and in the workstation. So, and also the ceiling lights, number of ceiling lights was reduced to half of the original quantity. So there's a saving in the energy. So this is some examples, okay, that we are making the change. So yes, and from the corporate business perspective, okay, from environmental perspective, we are focusing more on the renewable energy side. So I can give an example is that the lending volume of our renewable energy has increased to Euro 7 billion at the end of 2023. Which was higher than the original target that we set on 2026. So we're faster. So, I mean, we have put it as a priority, you know, for those customers who become more sustainable, then they will get more longer or mid-term support from the bank. So, and also, there's one new tool that we developed. We call the ESG checklist, and also is the credit score. So there's, of course, a lot of elements there, but the key essence is, you know, we have these tools to help us to make the checklist, a checkbox, okay, whether this lending or investment is fulfilling our reputational and credit risk in the ESG aspect. So in this kind of components, that the bank is very focusing on the ESG elements, okay? And then from a social perspective, which is more about the labor policy, okay? So it's about the employee experience. We have added a question in our annual employee survey about how do you view about the sustainability of the company, the bank, okay? So based on that, we make changes. And also, we have set up a target in the diversity, okay? Diversity in the board members in the group, okay, in Germany, that the female proportion, the target is changed to 30% in 2030, but now it's only 23.7%. So this is also one thing that we want to drive diversity, okay, in the social perspective. Of course, from an HR perspective, you know, those typical part-time working mode, work from home, flexibility is also key of the policy, HR policy. And then from the governance perspective, which is more on the business decision-making element, right? So 𝗘𝘅𝗽𝗵𝗀 Bank Group has formulated some targets for the board of managing directors in assessing their performance on the both qualitative and also quantitative kind of ESG, you know, whether IT team or whether this corporate banking, how many initiatives that you have, you know, planned for the future. So these are also the assessment criteria for our board members. Right, so yeah, so I think the community is focusing more on, you know, for this decision maker, they are not just focusing on generating money for the shareholders only. They are making the focus now to maybe the employee, to the supplier, to our customers, and even the wider community. So that is, you know, I think many companies are organizing those volunteering kind of making donations to those who need it. Okay, so these are those things that was embedded in our group strategies. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. 𝗖. Now let's hear from Mr. Lee. Could you please share a success story of someone who transitioned into a new career path in modern banking? And is there any key lessons we could learn from that?
Thank you. This was not a question I was assigned, but I can, of course, adjust to that. And I actually want to, given that we are in Edwards, you're placed in Deloitte today, I actually want to talk about working as a consultant versus working in a banking environment. And of course, they both are very, very good careers. But the two careers give you different exposure, experience, and learnings. So I would, if some of the audience, some of the students here, you are struggling between, oh, should I join a very good professional consulting firm like Deloitte, or you want to join the banking industry, for example, Hang Seng, there are a few areas that you might want to think about. I think the first one is what type of exposure you want to expose yourself to. I had the experience working in a consulting industry, and working as a consultant gives you a very wide spectrum of experience in different industries, in different sectors, and in a very short period of time you are forced to work with clients in the different industries, and each and every project runs for maybe sometimes 4 weeks, sometimes 4 months. But you can see different industry in a very short period of time. You work with public organization, you work with consumer, you work with consumer spending, retail, financial services, automobile, everything in a very short period of time. So you see things very quickly, pick up new knowledge from different projects and clients very quickly. In a banking environment, you of course do not work for clients, you work for your employer. And you have a very deep view of how your organization works, and you have the longevity of seeing how things happen in an organization, how it evolves. If I make an analogy, which is quite famous in the industry for practitioners, if you work in a consulting firm, you are like a sports player in a sprint, in a short distance swimming competition where you swim 100 meters and then immediately you can play a 200 meter freestyle, and then after 2 hours or another day you can then do 400 meter freestyle. But in a banking environment, you do not do that. You do marathon, right? You do marathon. You pace yourself very well, you strategize yourself for the whole marathon, for the 3 hours to the 2 hours. And you cannot play another marathon immediately in the afternoon because it's a very long-term view. So that's a third dimension you might want to think of. Another dimension is the type of work that you work on. In a consulting environment, you are very focused. You are given a relatively well-defined problem, and you form a project around it. And in a very short period of time, as I said, you try to solve that very well-defined particular problem. It is like a laboratory environment where you isolate everything else and you work very focusedly on that particular problem and you find a solution academically, scientifically correct. So that's consulting work for me. In a banking world, it's about how to make things practical, feasible, and adaptable to a real-life situation. You almost never have a solution that is 100% correct. It is a constant decision among, do you choose a 70% correct answer or a 60% correct answer? And you find which one is more optimal so that is implementable in that particular situation with the particular group of people you are working with at a particular setting of the markets. So it's about how to compromise something that is workable in the market. If you have a 100% correct answer, but that is not implementable, that has zero value, right? So in a banking environment, you constantly have to think about what is practical, what is doable in the right period of time. It is not a laboratory, it is real life. So you can think of, if you want to be a scientist, you want to work in a laboratory. If you want to be an engineer, maybe you want to work in the banking industry. I think the final dimension you might want to think about is ultimately what measures success. Edward, of course, work very closely with clients and you want your client success. But ultimately, a consulting business is a business. So you want to grow your own business, your consulting business. You want more clients, you want more projects, and basically you want more problems for you to solve. So that's a consulting business. So you develop client management skills, you develop sales skills, you develop business development skills as your core measure of success. In a banking environment, it's about developing the organization, developing the markets for a longer-term sustainable development. So the skills are how to see the long term of the development of the market, how to build vision of how the market will shape, and how to, again, make things that are practical given the vision you have. And you develop very different skill set. So it's not which is better. There might be a more suitable moment at your career to try different things, but you need to know what you are trading off between, and ultimately there are transferable skills as well. The transferable skills are, the speakers already talk about communication skills and analytical skills and interpersonal skills. Those are all transferable.
Thank you, Mr. Lee, for sharing these insights. And Mr. Leung, I'd like to ask, what strategies can professionals use to keep up with the rapid changes in banking industry and to help them stay competitive in the job market?
I just found a new similarity with Gilbert. That also wasn't a question assigned, but anyway. We can always pivot. No problem.
We have more common.
I think so. But in terms of skills to keep up, I will bring it back to the question that's assigned, but I'll also answer that new question. I think the skill sets and keeping ourselves updated is important, right? Keep learning, dedicate yourselves, nourish your own curiosity. But beyond that, how do you do it? Now, one of the questions that I think is probably in your minds is how is data important? How is data shaping how financial services and banking is doing? And what used to be a data department and analytics department, that is, the risk guys will deal with the numbers, that's absolutely no longer true. Data is a language. Data is a language that everybody must be fluent in. That everyone needs to deal with and be very comfortable with it. But the comfortable part is actually getting more difficult. With AI and machine learning, there are less logical explanation you can do with the data output, right? Used to be, I can assign a reason for why certain things happen, and the data seems to be telling me that. Well, you're making data tell a story you want to tell. But more with big data, you're analyzing behaviors that you are discovering new. Now, so what used to be a separate function now is everybody's problem and skill set. So get comfortable with it. Now, there are two elements to this. There is the technical side, the engineering side to data, and some of you may be interested in that. But the more important piece is the business side to it, right? At WeLab, we were saying this, hey, data is your best friend. Well, you're friends with that data and you need to be able to do something with it. I encourage those starting out in financial services, understand what the implication of that data is, what it means in a business context, so you remain contextual as you read those data. And more in terms of the skill sets working in banks in the digital environment, is that you have to push towards infinitely smaller and smaller targeting, right? It's almost like in the chip industry, right? From a huge room to a very small chip to infinitely smaller chips. The dream of any financial services targeting or fraud prevention or risk management is to go towards the segment of one. As technology improves, each of us is actually different. But in a lot of targeting and marketing, we talk about clustering, right? The clustering went from big clusters to smaller clusters. As you learn more about your customers, not just financial data, not just behavioral data, but your digital footprints, where you are, what you do, who you're next to, whether you hold up your phone like this or like this, you decide to apply something in the middle of the night, who's on your phone book, all that information tells something about the customers. And as we get infinitely better with our data analytics and the use of data, we get more and more accurate in terms of understanding the customers. So what does that do to your business? Lowers the cost, less wastage, because you're talking to customers that are relevant in both in time and offer, but also better customer service. You're not sending junk, right? Less and less things will go into junk. So that segment of one is a dream. We're not there yet, but that's something we would like to do. Now, the other bit is it's about getting to know the customers better than they know themselves, right? Because if you look at a lot of financial services, we are separate in terms of when you see the promotion and when you act. That gap is closing, right? Both in a physical location, because you can do it on your phone or do it on the app that Gilbert was mentioning. And also as and when you think about the product, think about how good it would be if the minute you think about something, it pops up on your phone. More and more so, it is doing that on your social media side. You will see that in financial services. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Le. And lastly, for Mr. Wong, I would like to ask, what role does artificial intelligence play in modern banking operations, and how can individuals leverage this technology to advance their careers? Hope that aligns with your question.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, it is the question assigned to me. First of all, I have to admit, I hardly understand anything about AI. Okay, so I'm not sure how can I provide any advice how AI can help people advance their career. Maybe except for my secretary, who used Gemini and ChatGPT to help me prepare this script. Yeah. But anyway, joke aside, okay, I think the application for AI in banking can be unlimited. Yeah. What I can see now is like say maybe AI can be used to provide like customer service, provide chatbots, which a lot of like companies, I think even some banks internally, they already use chatbots to answer query from their staff on maybe HR related issues. The second like area that can apply is like process automation. Like in particular, if like for some routine work, definitely I can see AI can take up that from our staff. Also algorithmic trading. Okay, algorithmic trading is not something new, but previously it has been like rule based. But now with the use of AI, it can definitely adopt into like different market environment or different like financial market. So probably more reliable as well. And also like in terms of surveillance, like when we need people to like fed all these like conversation by regulated staff, it would take a lot of time. But again, AI can easily done that within seconds. So so how can we like use AI to help our like career development? First of all, I don't think anyone need to like get a degree in AI. Like maybe it's too late now. Okay, but what I would suggest is try to get yourself involved in some project related to AI, whether you are still studying or whether you are doing the internship. Like whenever you see any opportunity to apply AI in your study or in the work, raise your hand. Like this will be a very, very valuable experience. And also, I think like try to talk to some AI professionals. Okay, my son has a private tutor on IT subject. When I was in between job last year, I actually asked the private tutor to give me a few sections, tell me about what's the latest AI application in different parts of the world. Okay, it really helps me a lot, even though I still hardly know anything about AI. And also like I think like understanding also the ethical implication of AI. I think this is one of the key challenge nowadays for banks or for regulators and for any companies trying to apply AI into how to make sure that the result deliver are acceptable, like it would not cause any compliance issue. I think if you are become like an expert in this area, I'm sure you don't need to worry about like finding a job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Wong.
Given that we already deviate from what we rehearsed, I just want to supplement what Brian talked on AI. Just a live example of what's happening for us in Hang Seng about AI. I think some of you know what deepfake is, right? Deepfake. So with an app or with a program, you can imitate a real life person speaking and speaking to you real life. So there are applications where you see you actually don't need the four of us here today, and you can create the four of us on the internet and as if we are talking, but we never actually do that. So imagine criminals use that to cheat the banks. They pretend to be a customer, call into one of our call centers and steal all the money. That is a possibility, using AI to cheat the bank as a fraud. And what we actually will discuss, my boss is here, we will discuss later this afternoon is how to use AI to counter these type of frauds. Right? This is what we talk about to the future skills we need. We need the analytical skills. We need how to adopt and use AI, for example, as in technology, to protect our customers, protect your wealth, protect our investment. So AI, it's definitely something we need to pick up and then learn.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you all esteemed panelists for sharing all your insights. And now we're going to open the floor up for questions. So if you may have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you. and I guess our audiences are still preparing. So I may have a open question. So if you want to answer, you can like answer this question. I would say, how can networking and mentorship support individuals in exploring and transitioning into new career paths within the banking sector? So, thank you.
Talking about mentorship and networking, okay? Probably mentors, right? Mentors are usually those very experienced professional, very successful in their career. So definitely they can share their experience and you know, the insights. So of course, you know, if you have this mentoring program, I believe many of the banks and even universities here, they have the alumni system, right? That from your 𝗕𝗍𝗍𝗍 and there are so many opportunities that you have this mentoring arrangement. So, I mean, they will guide you through. They will talk to you about, you know, what is suitable for you. And in my personal experience, one of my team members did have a mentor, and then the mentors asked him to leave me. So he did leave me because in fact he moved to a recruitment agency, and now he's a director of that recruitment firm. So he did a very successful job. So the situation is, he told me when he left, and I support him because he got the right choice. And of course, the mentors also give him some support in, okay, this should be your path, because probably as a generalist, HR generalist, this is not something that you may want to do in the future. You are like a salesperson, so you can be a recruitment agent, and he did very successful. So I think this mentorship can help the person to find the right path, okay? And also, in some situation, they can also help them to maybe solve their own problems or, you know, some career setbacks. And then in one time, that person, when he started just for a few months, and he come back to me and say, Vivian, I want to quit. And I asked why, and he said, oh, not much business. And I said, well, you just started for 3 months, and your boss did not ask you to go. Keep on. Just you know, try your very best. And then in a year time, he said, okay, I did very well. So, and in a couple of years, he was promoted. So, I mean, of course, I'm not just giving him much advice, but I would just tell him, you know, to encourage him to, I think this kind of advice will be somewhat helpful to an individual. So the mentorship arrangement is very useful for young people who wants to get advice. In terms of connecting, of course, if like, you know, network like this, okay, or professional groups will definitely help you to seize more opportunities. And I do have experience that, you know, in my companies, we hire interns, but we do not have interns opening at the right timing, but we do have people approaching our general manager and say, you know, they connect, and then my general manager will say, oh, this is a good candidate. He's bold, he's brave, okay, to reach out. Of course, we do not have a suitable opening for him at that moment, but he's on my active database, okay, for reasonable timing, data privacy. So, and then when there's an opportunity comes, and then we do not find suitable candidate, then he will be one of the, you know, shortlisted candidates. So, I mean, networking will definitely give you more opportunities. So, I think the importance is networking should not be limited to your workplace or your study group. I mean, extend it as much as possible. Okay, so and be bold to connect. Okay. Be bold to raise your hand to ask questions. So I think this is important. I think maybe in Hong Kong, people dare not to ask questions. They tend to be preparing to answer questions. So I think this is also something that people young talents needs to be more prepared to ask questions, okay? I think that is important, especially through the networking, okay?
Thank you, Ms. Ao. So, do we have any questions from our audience?
Hello. First of all, thank you for sharing. I do have a question more intended for Ernest. So, for virtual banks, I do agree with a lot of the traditional banks in that their affinity to practicality is often motivated by regulation. So, for a bank like 𝗲𝗄𝗏, if the 𝗕𝗍𝗵𝗋 or other regulators decide to slap regulation similar to Basel III onto 𝗲𝗏 as it grows, do you think this will be a hindrance to the innovation at 𝗲𝗏? Or how will 𝗲𝗏 navigate that situation?
Great, thanks. It's a good question. So one thing to note is that the 𝗕𝗍𝗵𝗋 slaps on exactly the same set of regulations onto digital banks as they do the banks that you know about, especially on all of the prudential ratios. We are subject to the same regulatory audits as basically all of the banks in Hong Kong. Now, so as a player in the in the financial services market, of course we are subject to Basel III as well, right? So all the capital efficiency optimization, all that subjects comes into play. One thing that for the time being, which it's less applicable to us, is we are less international in our transactions, right? When the 𝗕𝗍𝗵𝗋 started our clearing license, it was mostly for Hong Kong residents, right? That's gradually easing, so it opens up a bigger market for a startup bank like ours. But in terms of financial stability, security, as I mentioned earlier, prudential ratios, we are subject to exactly the same. So it does give us a little bit of a challenge in the beginning, because for banks that are 30, 40, 50, 150, 200 years old, they've gone through that initial hockey stick. So of course, each new product, a new branch, a new business line will go through an investment phase, but you have the rest of your bank to carry that cost, right? Because the revenues are already there. For a younger bank like ours, that is a challenge, because we are going through an investment phase that we have to have the patience and actually the grit to go through, right? And a lot of them are 𝗙𝗍𝗶𝗴 accounting rules as well, right? Certain things are booked at different times, which affects the short-term financial performance. So before anybody decides to start a new bank, think about how you want to go through that initial phase. But to your point, we respond to regulatory requests, new rules and laws the same way that, well, actually say we don't respond the same way, but the same regulations applies to us as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leung. Due to time limits, sorry, we may have to stop here for our panel's Q&A session. And you can find our panelists in the networking section if you have any questions. So let's do the wrap up. First of all, a big thank you to our panelists. And for our discussion, we can find out that despite rapid changes, there is strong confidence in the future of banking, especially here in Hong Kong, a key global financial center. With opportunities for growth and innovation, the sector remains full of potential. So thank you, everyone. And before we end our session, I'd like to invite our panelists to stay on stage for a quick group photo.